Welcome. We're on the red couch with Lillette Jenkins-Wisner, classical and jazz piano legend. Lillette has played with all the greats, including Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Cab Calloway, and Ella Fitzgerald. Nat King Cole wrote a song for her called Lillette. Growing up in Harlem with neighborhood and fellow performers like Louis Armstrong, Lillette has amazed audiences the world over. She gives her all in every setting, whether it was traveling overseas, entertaining the troops in the USO in the early 40s, playing at Carnegie Hall, or at the local nursing home. At an age when most people are retired, Lillette is as busy as ever with performances galore. In 2005, in keeping with her dedication to the musical dreams of young people, Lillette and her family created Lillette's Foundation for the Arts. Lillette, I am so thrilled to have you on the red couch.
Well, I am thrilled to be here.
Thank you very much. I wanted to ask you about growing up in Harlem and what that was like. And I remember you're telling me a story about your neighbor that heard you play when you were a little girl.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. She lived above us because we lived in apartment buildings. And she was a neighbor of ours and a very good friend of my mother's.
Yeah.
Well, I used to listen to the radio because we didn't have any pianos at that time. So I used to listen to the radio, and for some reason I was able to remember a lot of the songs that I heard on the radio. But I used to go upstairs and visit her because she was a friend of my mother's. I'd go up there and play the piano. And she loved to hear me play, so I used to have to go and entertain her every day. So she asked my mother one day if there was anything that she could do to help us in any way that she could. But she thought I was so talented, and she told my mother if she could afford to give me music lessons, that she would love to give me her piano as a gift.
And so she gave you the piano.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
And it was that was the first time I had anything of that nature to call my own, you know. So I used to practice on that instrument every day. My mother would beg me to get off the piano and please come and eat my dinner. But I couldn't see where my dinner was going to equalize.
It wasn't going to be as good as playing
Never
music.
would.
Wow.
No kind of way, no.
So your neighbor didn't realize what an amazing gift.
Well, she told my mother that I was extremely talented, and she wanted me to be able to practice every day, you know.
Wow.
On my own, yeah. And through that, you know, and playing in church and in different places like that, I was awarded a music scholarship.
Wow.
To continue studying, you know. Oh, I love that. That was my heart.
Absolutely, and I think it still is.
Oh, yes, that's right.
But, you know, I remember you're telling me that a lot of, like, the jazz performers back in Harlem weren't classically trained, and you were. You have incredible musical technique.
Well, that was, I was one of the few at that time, because during that era, no one could afford music lessons.
Right.
You know, there were a few musicians that were trained, but it was so few.
Right.
Because no one could afford it.
Yeah.
Not in my time, because I came up in the early 20s.
Right. And then in the early 40s, you got like a big start with the USO playing for the troops.
Yeah. Well, I traveled around the world for almost 4 years, entertaining the military in different countries. Wherever they were, I was there. You know, it was one of those things.
Were you ever nervous, like just being in those environments?
No, it didn't really bother me. I mean, it was so exciting.
Yeah.
Believe you had no time to be upset or... Yes, I did.
Well, you're so well-rounded. I mean, you've done ragtime, you've done gospel, you've done spirituals, you've done jazz.
Yeah, well, it's because I was in so many different places, you know, in different times, and I didn't want to just be classically trained, you know, because it was too many different areas that I was asked to play at that time. You know, I was in churches. Well, I had to have religious music to go there. Yep. I was doing some things at Carnegie Hall. I had to have the music to play there, and every place that I went, it seemed to be of a different quality or a different sound, you know. So I said, well, I'm going to try to play just about everything that I can.
And you have this huge range.
Yeah, well, that's why I did it. You know, when I was asked to play in church, I went back to school and studied pipe organ, because in that era, in the 20s and 30s, you know, practically every church had a pipe organ or some style of organ, you know, because that was what they did. You know, now hardly any church has an organ now. That's the reason why I wanted to learn these other styles so that I could accommodate wherever I went, you know. And it did a big job, because here came vaudeville.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had to be ready for that, because traveling in so many different locations, I had to know different styles of music, you know, in order to be accommodating.
Do you have a favorite?
It depends on my mood. If I said I can't have a bad day, because if I get up feeling bad, once I can get my feet on the ground and get my fingers on the keys, I can change my mood completely.
I love it.
That's right, because whenever I feel like playing, that's what I play then, and my entire mood changes.
You know I love you, Lillette.
Why?
Thank you for coming on the red couch. I am so happy to have you.
Well, I'm happy to be here, you know, because you know me. I will do my thing anywhere I am.
And nothing stops you.
That's right.
I remember you broke your pedal foot right before the concert I saw you
sure
in.
Did.
And the woman announced you, and she said, I called Lillette, and I said, Lillette, I guess you're not going to be able to make the show. I totally understand. And you said, honey, I'm from the old school. The show must go on.
I sure did. I did that show.
So that's your secret, isn't it, to a happy and successful life? Music.
Well, music is, because it changes the entire mood.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's the only thing we have that comes from within.
Yeah.
We have no control over that. Music is an inner feeling that we have that we can't explain it. All we can do is enjoy it.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on my show. It's been a pleasure to have you.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
And I certainly hope that you all have a most enjoyable and blessed holiday. And if you need a little jingle bells to go with it, you know, you let me know. Yeah. Keep the hips shaking.
Oh, I'll try to do that. Thank you.
My pleasure. God bless. And it's good to see
you. You too.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us
on the red couch.